And certainly we are seeing it with congressmen, representatives, Representative Greg Steele, who's joining us right now on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News, is doing just that, helping out in the community and certainly looking out for his constituents to get things done. It's about leadership, everybody. So that's what we need more of. First of all, good morning. It's Drew. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. And first of all, hey, before we get started, how are you? How are your family, everybody? You did all right during the storm. How are you all there?
Yeah, family's fine. Everybody was safe. House took damage. Property took damage. We live on 5 acres out in East Sarasota County. So as the storm kind of went in and then went to the northeast, we were kind of on the western side of the eye wall. We must have had 20 oak trees down. I'm still fixing the roof. So the supply chain crisis that Joe Biden created, you had to go to 3 stores to find soffit. Literally last night I went to Home Depot. They didn't have any. I had to go to Lowe's to get some. You can't find the stuff you need. And then you look at a price. I got a one piece of 4-inch PVC was $69. And there was a guy at the Home Depot, and I'm like, $69 for one piece of PVC pipe? He's like, yeah, I know. It's crazy. People can't even afford it anymore.
Right.
And that's just the guy working at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And it's all been created by the Democrats.
Yeah.
And it's exacerbated because you have people that are trying to get things to fix their houses, and one, they either can't find them or they're so exorbitantly priced that it forces the insurance companies to come in because people can't afford it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're starting to see now as we get 3 weeks plus away from everything. We're starting to see some of the ramifications of what was there before and how we may have been able to avoid a lot of this, but now we're starting to see it. Like I said, the ramifications of supply chain issues and the supplies in Southwest Florida and by the way, in the district, maybe you can even talk about what's been happening in the district. I know many people have been in the district working hard to help the community and maybe some of the things that you've been able to do there in the district.
Well, I'm telling you, these EOCs, these emergency operations centers, are the tip of the spear as it relates to a hurricane.
Right.
And I have been to DeSoto, to Hardy, to Sarasota, to Charlotte, and you go in these EOCs, and it's like a command center for emergency operations where a call comes in, dispatch is there, it's routed to the right people, whether that be the National Guard, whether that be law enforcement, whether that be paramedics. And I tell you, the state is doing what the state can. The federal government and FEMA is doing what they can. And I'll tell you quickly about something I worked on that.
Sure.
But it's really the counties and the local government. You know, when somebody's either calling 911 or needs help or needs something of an emergent nature, that's really the place where the rubber meets the road. And I've been very honored to be a part of what has happened in those EOCs. It is super smooth what goes on there. And even things that we have, like I've had a ton of donors. I've had, you have the Blue Tarp program. You have all of these different not-for-profits. You have these different Christian organizations that want to help. And they're coming to me and saying, hey, what can I do to help? I send them to the emergency operations centers because if there's people that need it, that's where all of the information is being disseminated. And I'll tell you, it is we've been through our fair share of hurricanes here in Florida, and I tell you, we have it down. And those centers are where action is happening, where the help comes from. And I'm very honored to be a part and proud of the work that they've done through the communities.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what you've seen, the people you've talked to with regard to, farmers and even the agriculture industry? I know people have been concerned about that. I am hearing stories about the devastation of some of the crops that we're starting to hear about and the concerns about the orange crops and others and even farmers in general and maybe how, listen, there's help out there, but certainly who you've been able to talk to and see.
Yeah, the citrus industry that has been just hammered over the years between canker, between disease, between these different storms. We are at a period of time where most of your citrus crop was on the tree. I actually have some citrus trees here and experienced the same thing. And they all had catastrophic fruit drop. So once that fruit hits the ground and comes off the trees, you can't harvest it. So you now have an entire year's harvest that is not going to be able to be harvested because it hit the ground at a time where in a month or two they were going to be pulling that fruit off the tree. just catastrophic damage to the citrus industry because, again, this storm went right up the gut where a lot of our citrus is in the state of Florida. And there are resources. I'm leading the charge for an emergency supplemental in Washington. Kat Kamek is a congresswoman out of the Gainesville area.
Yep.
She sits on ag appropriations. We've already had discussions about part of this supplemental has got to have funding for our ag producers to be able to make them whole on the losses that they've had so these people don't go out of business. So that's going to be part of the supplemental. At this point, I would prefer Republicans do it. We will have more time to get the information come January. The Democrats can't help themselves with these emergency supplementals by shoving a bunch of Green New Deal garbage in there and forcing people like myself to vote against their district in emergency disaster supplemental.
Right.
So it's my hope that when we take the majority back in November, it'll take time to get all these numbers from growers and insurance folks and all the infrastructure needs that we have and the money that that's going to cost and debris removal amounts that reimbursing the counties. So we'll have more of that come January. I think we wait. There's no rush to do it because it takes time for them to go through their process. But specifically for ag guys, through the USDA and the FSA, there are loans, there are grants that come from the different loss. They document, obviously, their crop loss. I had a dairy farmer just out here east of me, lost 250 head of cattle that drowned. The flood waters got so high, his cattle drowned.
Is that Dakin?
And especially in the center part of the Dakin Dairy.
Yeah, mm-hmm. yeah. Know it well. Yeah, I know. It's these are the stories. A lot of these stories that we don't hear about, and of course, it has an impact on us here locally. And certainly, when you're talking about the farmers and dairy, and you're talking about citrus and the like, and I'm glad you bring that up. And look, they're 3 weeks on. Obviously, we all witnessed the devastation. We're all in restoration mode. We're looking to what we can do next. There'll be time to look back and to see some of the things that can be done better and what happened. And certainly in other places around the state, we also get advice from some of the things that they did in certain communities after the storm to get back, right, to have infrastructure back and built up, and some of the good things that we found out after storms in other areas. But there is something specific to be said about what you mentioned, and I don't think you can stress this enough. There's no time like the present to put the politics behind and to say there are people that are in need. And stop with the, when it comes to some of these appropriations, to stop with the Green New Deal nonsense to try to make a political point, to get somebody to vote against something because you're trying to do something to make that political point when there are people in need. That to me is just one of those things that it can't be stressed enough. Like, why are they? Well, I don't have to. Kind of an open-ended question, but why they do this. I just explained it, but that is frustrating, is it not? I mean, I hear it in your voice. It's incredibly frustrating.
It's horribly frustrating because I was with Senator Rubio. We were down surveying places, and we went to Hardy, DeSoto, and Charlotte together.
Right. And
he made the same statement that I did. If they're going to shove all this garbage in these bills, we're not going to vote for it. Just like I didn't vote for. They shoved Hurricane Michael relief with all these other crazy leftist agenda items, and they can't help themselves because they're going to use this emergency to try to get money, and then they're going to shove all these little projects that they want in there and all these far left progressive ideology policies in a bill that has money behind it.
Right.
And why are we focused on giving more money to Ukraine when we're not focused on the people right here in our country that have gone through a disaster, who, for some people, lost their loved ones, lost their house, lost livestock, lost their crop, lost their farms, whatever the case may be. And Washington and Pelosi are more concerned about their Green New Deal agenda, giving more money to Ukraine than what Americans are suffering in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is frustrating. And again, politics is in everything, whether you want to say it or not. People that are listening to the sound of our voice, look, it's in everything. It is. And you can't dismiss that fact. And it's a shame that there are moments in time where we can't put that aside. But then you ask yourself, who's doing it? What's the agenda? And is this something that you want to vote more of? Because we have an opportunity, obviously, coming up. And we'll see after the elections where we go. But certainly, The moment in time is now to kind of reflect on where we've been, what we're currently doing, and then some of what we're seeing as you and others, leading house-side efforts for these supplemental packages, and certainly as you've been meeting with some of the Florida delegation, and you've seen, as you described, some of the devastation, that hopefully that people will see what is happening and electorally speaking, make the right decision. But ultimately, there's still a lot of work to do. So if people want to get more information, Congressman, maybe they want to find out more in the district. Obviously, you've got these EOC areas. Definitely are places to stop by and check out what's happening.
Well, and if they need resources, our office is here to help. The FEMA's opened up DRC disaster recovery centers. I was actually a part of they weren't getting one in DeSoto County, and thankfully after a phone call a couple of days later, they opened one up in DeSoto County. That is like boots on the ground. You go in and you file an application with FEMA. That is what I encourage people to do. You can go just Google that or go on our website, stube.house.gov/hurricane for all that information. You can either go to a DRC to file a FEMA claim, or you can go through the process on our website. We have a number of caseworkers that are in my office that are going to be just doing FEMA claims. And we've gotten one of the things about the community of the Republican conference is the moment this happened, obviously our phones just started lighting up.
Yep.
And other Florida offices were sending us their interns, sending us their staff people to be able to handle the volume of calls. So stube.house.gov/hurricane for information in my district. And I would encourage people to go to those DRCs, go through the process if they've experienced loss that either insurance isn't covering for them or they didn't have insurance that covered.
All right, good stuff. All right, Congressman, I appreciate you. All the best, and we'll have you on again soon, okay? Thanks so much.
You too. Thank you.
We'll see you. Congressman Greg Steele joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News, 239-479-5592. I know it's